right, Tony. Simple question for you. I'm playing in a simulator golf league this winter. My first match is coming up. Let's say I make a hole in one. Does it count?
Well, it maybe counts for you if you're buying the drinks for me, but if I make a hole in one, no, it doesn't count. Are you kidding me? Indoors? From a perfect lie onto a green that has no ball marks, everything's pure. No. No.
What is up, everybody? How you living? No puts given. It's Thanksgiving week, turkey time, turkey tech talk time. We're just going to use a lot of alliteration in this episode. Turkeys, talk, tech, all those things.
I got some alliteration for you.
Hit me.
What happened to your fucking face?
Well, I had a little run-in with a piece of brick.
Looks like you and Jay Leno have the same bookie.
What's that?
So it looks like you and Jay Leno have the same bookie.
You know, there's a chance. Got Leno'd, but no, just a little brick scrape incident from a falling cinder block. So we'll pull through. We'll be all right. Thank you for asking, though, Tony. I appreciate your alliteration. Anyway, it's the holidays can be stressful times, Tony. We know that. It's
people are getting hit with bricks and shit.
Well, you got to watch out for these things. And but man, last event, PGA Tour, a couple guys fell outside the number, a couple guys moved their way in. I know a lot of people don't necessarily watch that stuff, but if you want to read something that makes you feel good for a guy that you want to feel good for, Joel Damon. I mean, he was outside the number. We're talking about the 125, which as of right now, top 125, right, gets you fully exempt, gets you your tour card for the next year. A lot of these things are changing. They're eliminating, some tour cards from that, reducing the number of players in some fields, reducing the number of cards to the PGA Tour from the Korn Ferry, from DP World Tour, all that kind of stuff, which has led Kevin Kisner to, in my opinion, rightfully claim it's becoming more of a closed shop, which is an absolute shame for a professional sport that doesn't need any additional negative attention right now. But read Joel Damon's story, man. Had to go low the last day. Had to. And when he had to, he did. Made it. I cannot imagine. That's stress, man. That's playing for your livelihood. That's, that's pretty awesome. Henrik Norlander, Daniel Berger also jumped inside the number. People moving outside the number. This is particularly more difficult, where you're inside, need to have a good week to keep your card. Not so much the case for Wesley Bryan or Zach Blair. Doesn't mean they won't be on tour at all next year. They just fall into a different category. We'll see what happens. But that's officially the end of your PGA Tour year and all that stuff. So we'll see in, I don't know, January.
Next couple of weeks.
We'll take the next week and a half off and be with you here after the long off season. But like I said, this is more of a tech talk kind of thing. We're like I said, we're in the season of new products, new equipment. There's going to be a barrage once we kind of hit mid-December on, likely through end of January, well into February. But a couple cool tech products have recently surfaced. So for tech people alike, let's start with this one. Let's start with this Garmin situation, Tony. So we are going to talk about, this is going to go right into the indoor simulator conversation. So apologies to the people that we didn't get there the last 2 weeks. A little late. We're going to get there. Talk to me. What do we got here?
Yeah, so this is kind of the new big exciting thing in the launch monitor space. So this is what the Garmin, I always get the number wrong. This is this the R50? I always want to say R40 for some reason, but R50.
Don't shortchange them, 10.
I know. Yeah. So this is kind of the latest new hot thing in This is being billed as a premium golf launch monitor and simulator. So, unlike the previous Garmin model, the little thing, which is that I gotta find the number.
That R10 or whatever.
Yeah, Yeah, there you go. R10. You're better with the numbers than I am. So the R50 is camera based. It's a 3-camera system, which I think, honestly, even in the portable space, maybe even especially in the portable space, cameras are going to be far superior to radar.
Particularly indoors.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like indoors, limited flight environment, those are the two things, which basically means if you're not hitting all the way down range, and even that with full flight, you're started getting into these smaller Doppler things where it might as well be kind of limited flight. So I'm just not a big believer in radar in that situation anyway. So really excited, I guess, or happy to see that this is a camera system, 3 cameras. And really the thing that kind of separates the R50 from everything else we've seen to date is this relatively large, it's almost like a self-contained iPad kind of screen. That gives you all the metrics, full color display, projection or representation of golf holes, so you could theoretically, play simulator golf without the projection, because you're at least seeing it all on the little screen. Club data, ball data. So at first glance, and when I say first glance, I'm going to include I don't know that we fully crunched the numbers yet, but the cursory glance in our portable launch monitor test, the numbers look really good coming off this thing. So it's encouraging for sure.
Yeah, so let's unpack this a little bit, because, and again, there's so many tech products and things that come out throughout a year, and some don't warrant a longer, deeper dive in discussion. Some do. I think this one absolutely does, because when I first heard about it, I'm like, okay.
Again, here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again. I mean, we're both pretty skeptical depending on the product, and it's like, okay, we've seen this stuff. It's promising this. Yeah. Okay, fine. But right away when it said, okay, 3 cameras. So that was the first thing that stopped me, because, like you said, we basically, in the launch monitor space, you have 2 different really kind of fundamental operating systems, right? You're either camera-based, which means you literally have cameras, right, that are recording at however many frames per second or whatever the ball flight, and then extrapolating performance, spin, launch, height, angle of descent, all that stuff based on what it records on camera. Or you have a radar-based system, i.e. Doppler, where it uses radar, right, to track the ball in the air, and then based on how long and how accurately it can track the ball, then it extrapolates these performance elements. And so historically, right, and I know TrackMan is radar based and people have it outdoors and absolutely understand that and very accurate in that environment. I'm not saying it's not, but
love
what we have
outdoors.
found,
absolutely love TrackMan outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely. But what we have found is, to date, particularly in indoor situations where we've done, right, the vast majority of our testing, particularly when you're dealing and when we say limited flight, we're not talking like you have a wall 2 feet in front of you and you can't even extend your 6-iron without hitting the wall. We're talking like, okay, you got 10, 12, 15 feet, whatever. You don't have a driving range at your disposal. Camera-based systems seem to work a lot better. And not long ago, you and I both used the Foresight, the GC Quad, a lot. I would say that's probably a fair statement. Quad, 4 cameras. They came out with one called the GC 3.
Not the GC Tri. That was always...
Not the GC Tri, not the tripod, not the... Yeah. 3 cameras. This one also has 3 cameras. So that was the first thing that jumped out to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, so camera-based system, 3 cameras, a known established brand in the tech space, right? Garmin is not new to tech. They've been around a long time, a lot of applications. So just me going, man, if this thing is potentially as accurate or or within such a tight margin that accuracy isn't the determining factor now in whether I make a purchase or not, this thing gets more interesting because a third of the price, 25% of the price, something.
Well, I mean, I think again, to be fair, I think the true competitor, right? This is a GC3 slash Foresight Launch Pro competitor, not a GC Quad competitor, right?
Right.
But it is interesting at the price point. So $5,000. You are getting head data. You are getting ball data, of course. You have simulation capabilities. You got that color screen display. And so let's assume for a minute that the accuracy is really good. And what I mean by that is when we talk about, like, if I were to say the accuracy is okay, like, all right, you get little bits and pieces where it's damn near spot on, but there's enough difference here and there that those tolerances, if you will, compound, and kind of what you get when you put it all together maybe isn't accurate. So if this is accurate enough that you don't get the issue with compounding tolerances, now you're in a situation where the consumer can make a feature-based decision, not an accuracy-based decision. We can talk in a minute, right? We know this concept of accurate enough for my needs exists in this space, which is why people are content with $500 personal launch monitors that the accuracy, to me, I would put just slightly better than a random number generator. But when you're getting to this price point, you have an expectation of accuracy. Sure. Preliminarily, it seems to deliver on that. And again, now you're having a features discussion. One of my buddies sent me a text. He's like, I'm seriously thinking about buying this. Do you guys know anything about it? And it just so happened, right? We're in the middle of portable launch monitor testing, so I was able to get some info for him. And it is like this. There is something here, and I think it is. I think it is that big full color display that is driving interest in a way that we haven't seen necessarily.
I mean, literally a plug and play launch monitor. So we're not talking about the full simulator build out and some of these things. And the primary question that I have, is this good enough? And I think you posed the question really well, to change it from an accuracy-based decision to a features-based one. Because even when we say, hey, is this accurate enough? My question is always, okay, for whom, right? Like, because we know, I mean, if it says I hit my wedge 141 and I would have hit that wedge outdoors 142, well, there's enough variation in the air density, right, Bryson? Or
accurate enough.
The way the greens were mowed that day, or whatever the case is. So am I getting an accurate enough depiction if I'm hitting that ball indoors in terms of would I do anything differently at all outdoors in a real round of golf based on what that information is showing me? If that answer is no, I wouldn't change anything based on that, then you're right. Now I'm having a conversation of, okay, at $5,000, does this give me enough features and usability and function to do what I want it to do? And to me, it's kind of resetting that expectation a little bit of like, okay.
Yeah, what I love about this on paper is it's, you can kind of build around it slowly. Yeah. And again, because you've got that color screen and you can see so much without needing a piece of software above and beyond that. Yes, they have an app, right? Yes, they're going to have simulator capabilities, I believe. I saw it was compatible.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to be able to use this if you want to project onto a screen and do the whole build out and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't preclude you from being able to do that.
But it's as little as you need it to be. And especially, right, if you're starting out at $5,000, maybe your budget means, I spend $5,200, give or take, and I get this launch monitor and I'm hitting it into a net for now, right? And you can slowly build around it, or maybe you need to clean out the garage and convince your wife that she can clear snow off her car all winter long, right? So it takes some time to build out the full infrastructure, if you will. But, again, just looking at it, right? Color touchscreen, ball metrics, club metrics, the high-speed cameras. I'll have Nick put this up. This is really interesting. So these cameras are actually capturing impact as well. See, one of them is capturing that impact with the golf ball at the moment of impact. So that's potentially interesting. And then training modes, courses, all of the things that you would expect with any launch monitor platform.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, now we're at the point where, we're talking, 1,500 above and beyond GC3 right now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plus or minus. And then,
Bushnell Launch Pro,
as you're going through listing these features, and as I read through it, I think the reasonable question a consumer is going to ask is like, okay, hey, that's great. You're telling me it's a features-based discussion versus maybe accuracy. What other features would I want? Like, is there something that I'm really missing? And that'll be something that we'll explore and look into, and obviously as other products and things come out, and that's kind of part of the fun of the tech space stuff. I think it is always evolving. I'm sure they're already working on the next version of this or some iterations down the road or whatever the case is, but it feels like to me, at least at first glance, this has an awful lot of features. I can't see somebody buying this going, oh my gosh, I can't do this one essential thing that I really should be able to do. Can't do it. Like, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, and I will say too, looking at it's, as you said, it's very complete, right? Ball data, club data, simulation, the kind of the whether you want to to use the TrackMan vernacular, like combine or skills challenges, right? The ability to kind of gamification of practice, if you will. And the other thing, I'm trying to find it again, but it doesn't look like the software bundles, right? The subscription stuff, like it doesn't. You don't need to do it to get most of the stuff that you want. So it's not like this thing is crippled out of the box.
Right.
And if you actually want it, so it's
there are products like that where it's like you pay X amount and they're like, okay, now in order for this to really work, you need to pay, it doesn't work without the subscription, or it doesn't work without this, or it'd be like buying a camera with just the body and no lenses. It's not like that. Like this thing, seems to be pretty robust as is.
Like I said, it doesn't look like much that you're missing out on. So that'll be worth a deeper dive to confirm that if you're seriously looking at it. But it looks like like the Home Tee Hero requires the membership, so that's like their the game that you can kind of play with your friends, if you will.
Yeah.
But again, the stuff, if I'm spending this kind of money, if I'm spending $5,000 on a launch monitor,
right,
it's because I've made the decision that what I want is accuracy. I want this as a serious practice tool.
Yeah, if you're going to spend $5,000, you want
the simulator fun and game stuff, like that's secondary. Whereas if you're the guy spending $500 and on a random number generator, I would hope that you're primarily interested in that for fun. So again, it's a little different perspective, but But again, at the price point, I think it's fair to have the expectation that it's going to deliver.
Yeah.
Because if at $5,000, if this thing is not, beyond acceptable accuracy, like if it's not right there with again the Bushnell or the the GC3
or whatever, it's got to be.
And again, quad's still going to do some things. I would expect, your standard deviations on measurements, for example, are going to be
some of the super high
narrow
level metrics and things that it'll be able to do. Again, and that's why it's an enterprise grade and not as much a consumer. Like, this is definitely bringing it more into that consumer space.
I mean, this is prosumer at 5,000. Like, this is probably
looking less than a hot tub.
Yeah, but looking at kind of the competitive set, this is the most expensive within that space, I believe, right? It's more than SkyTrack, it's more than GC3.
Yeah, take your Unicore through SkyTrack through this and say, okay, But
so again, it's a features conversation, hopefully. So, which
kind of leads into this next topic of just simulator golf. I want to talk about this just for a little bit because I have some questions. Like, as you know, I just finished building a simulator in my garage. I've been working with Indoor Golf Shop on that for a good chunk of this year, just doing it kind of piecemeal as we go, and I'm getting it set up, and I love it. It's fun. It's cool to get out there. I love that stuff, but with all these like simulator leagues and things and stuff popping up, I just I don't know. I have some questions. So, like, I guess let me start with this. Are you a fan of simulator golf? Like, do you enjoy playing golf on a simulator?
I think you kind of have to, as my one of I'm on this text thread with my buddies, and one of them texted yesterday morning. I think it was yesterday, might have been Saturday. Who cares that he was going to go off and play? It was like 40 degrees out. It's like, hey, if anybody wants to join me, and one of the guys was like, nope, indoor golf season, too cold, right? And so that is a thing now where
Yes,
there is a delineation for those of us who live in climates that necessitate it. This point in time where you go, no, it is now indoor golf season, almost
right.
And so, like, I don't mind it. I don't, I'd rather be outdoors. I think it's a different game outdoors. I think it's a better game outdoors, but it sure beats not playing golf, I guess.
So, yeah, I mean, first time in my life, I signed up for an indoor, like a simulator golf league this winter. I've never done that before. Never really would have necessarily even thought about doing that, but there's some parts of it to me that like I need help with and like understanding. So like, let's take this scenario. You get a hole in one on simulator golf. Does that count?
No.
You say no.
No.
You're not buying food or drinks, whatever people in your group. You're not
you.
getting that ball.
No.
You're not gonna
buy your own drinks.
All right, so you say no.
No.
I also say no. Doesn't count. But you can win real money playing simulator golf. You got TrackMan Next Tour. Yeah, I think there's an article on it, right? The dude's won like $90,000, stuff like.
So yeah, so this is the Pin Seeker app, which is if you have a Foresight / Bushnell product, you can play. You can also, I think it works with SkyTrack. There might be one or two others that it is integrated with. But I was looking at like the all-time leaderboards, and it's absolutely insane. Looks like they updated it, but this one dude had won like over $100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just start there. Like, these are real people. I mean, and a lot of times these are mini tour pros and stuff like. Again, like I said, TrackMan has Next Tour. Like, they're playing for real money, and there's certain things you have to do, right? Like, you have to, like, I don't know if it's like record your round or you're live streaming or doing this. Like, you can see some of the inherent potential issues with that.
But yeah, so here's one like this SSOR Greb Zero. I don't know. Like, you can
hell of a player. Go get him, buddy.
Figure out how to pronounce that. But like, there's my finger. There it is. Look at that number right there. That is his all-time winnings. If you couldn't see that on screen, $125,000 and change, playing what amounts to closest to the pin competitions. Absolutely
maybe
insane.
Getting really good at like one shot or one skill or I mean, the thing that I like about the simulator golf part like that, it opens up these things, contests, I mean, again, tournament rounds, etc. Here's one place where I struggle, and I have a question. Like, we know that putting counts for a good chunk of somebody's score. And
yeah.
And can it be like, is that enough of a difference where because you're never really putting? I mean, even when you are putting, you're still not really putting. Like, you're hitting a 40-foot putt, but you don't have 40 feet, so you're hitting what you think is a 40-foot putt, whatever the case is. Or like in our league, they'll have like gimmies, right? Or it'll be automatic 2-putt within X amount
6
of feet,
4 feet, whatever. Right?
Yeah, whatever it is, or if it's So to me, the question is, does that degrade the fidelity of hey, I won $100 and some odd $1,000 playing simulator golf?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about distribution and skill, right? So like for instance in the rollback discussion, like the current game overvalues driving. Well, not really, but okay, if you want to make that argument.
Sure.
indoor golf completely undervalues putting as a skill. And yeah, I don't know anybody who's ever played indoor golf and gone, yeah, putting's pretty much the same, no difference to me. Very realistic. It's just not how it is. And so,
Right.
yeah, I think in a lot of cases, I think just about every league has some type of gimme distance.
Yeah.
And I think the guys who are really just want to go out there and hit golf shots and, not overthink it are content to set gimmies at 8 to 12 feet because it's like, whatever,
Yeah.
it's not.
I'm going to throw this out to you and
real.
tell me what you think about this, because I'm thinking of one of my best buddies. His name's Kyle. Really good player. He's played in the USAM, qualified for some 4-balls. He's really good. I mean, guy can shoot 65 on any given day. In fact, he took some money from me last weekend. And
is that kind of how the brick thing started? You're like, I'm not paying you.
Yeah, and then I was like, no, I'm not paying you. He's like, yeah, you are. And then,
sandbagging money.
He is a terrible simulator golfer based on what you would think he should be. So, like, my hypothesis would be that you can get somebody who's a really, really good golfer in normal golfing conditions that very well may struggle in a simulator.
I find this hard to believe that there's anybody who is worse at simulator golf than real outdoor golf.
But he's worse at simulator golf than he is at outdoor golf. Like, I guess the question is, like, what's the likelihood that if somebody's good at outdoor golf, are they probably going to be pretty good at indoor golf? Or is it
I cannot believe. Yes.
Like, what's more likely, that you have somebody who's really good at simulator golf that sucks at outdoor golf, or somebody that's really good at outdoor golf that sucks at simulator golf?
I can't imagine.
Which one's more likely?
Yeah, how do you suck if you're really good outdoors? How do you suck in a situation where you don't really have to putt because the gimmies are probably jacked up, and your lie is always perfect and on a fairway? And yeah, okay, it tries to simulate the impact of that crap lie, some software. I think others have just said, to hell with it, what's the point? I'm completely baffled.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be very interested to see how it goes for me, because I've never really committed to playing and trying to play like for a score. Like you would.
I wouldn't even call it. Like, is it even a commitment?
Well, man, that's fair. Like, I don't know. So I'd love to hear from people at the
I've committed to 2 beers and a plate of nachos. That's like what. That's what this round looks like.
6 Diet Cokes, 2 milkshakes, and a plate of nachos is going to be my commitment level.
It's just another version of Bud Light and fajitas at Topgolf.
Right. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'll have to provide, I guess, some updates as we go. Before I want to ask you about this though. This company switching gears back to a tech product. Bal.on. I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard of him. At first, right when I heard it, I didn't know what the product was. You ever had that? Like, you get a product and you hear the name, and you're like, okay, great, didn't help me.
Does not really nail it.
No. Okay, that sounds interesting. John Barba tried it, wrote an article about it, and I have to say I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this is, we see a lot of stuff, and, some days even maybe more than I should be. I'm kind of like, I'm over it. Here we go again, right? But this one I'm kind of looking through, and I was like, we've seen products like this before, like the salted insoles.
Yep. Yeah.
So similar idea. Looks like, from what I gather, a bit more sophisticated, bit more kind of measuring devices, so you get more metrics out of it. Again, there's essentially pressure plates or force plates built into your shoes. I don't know which description is more accurate.
Both are close enough.
It's like, again, like force measuring insoles, which, similar to the personal launch monitor space, take what has, at least in the golf world, traditionally been enterprise level technology, meaning, swing catalyst, right? They do the similar thing, where you need to either have a very, very expensive enterprise home setup, or you need to go somewhere else to use it.
Right.
And so this is kind of taking that type of technology and I would say putting it in your hands, but it's putting it under your feet, but you get the point.
Yeah, the thing that was interesting to me about it is this, and this is going to frustrate some people. Um, I don't think the price is an issue. $600.
I was
You
gonna
know what?
say I neglected to look at the price. The salted were what, like a couple
200
bills?
maybe.
Yeah.
They're a couple different prices. You're going to say $600. That is ridiculous. Well, here's my case why that's not ridiculous. Right? So the easiest kind of lowest hanging fruit is think of all the things golfers waste $600 on. You know, we can come up with that list very quickly. But the easiest one to come, like, again, people chase. This is from a performance standpoint, not a hey I want to buy it standpoint. So how many people spend $600 on a driver that does not necessarily make them any better or even appreciably better? So my argument kind of relies on the idea that people waste money on stuff that doesn't increase their performance. Something like this, I think, absolutely would. Where what it does, and the reason I'm saying this is, you know, we talked about technology, and you made this point, and I think it's a really good way for people to think about technology. Is does the technology tell you what to do or how to do it? Does it just give you information? Or does it give you a way
Yes.
to apply that information? And if so, how easy is it to actually apply that? Like, okay, that's great if I plug this thing into my car and I get a diagnostic report and it has all this information. That information may be phenomenal. But if I can't do anything with that information, what difference does it make? So, great, that's wonderful. But when you look at how this actually places information, what it shows you, how you can sync up your swing
AI
with
based coaching.
AI based coaching. But I mean, so you just play this out for a second. So I remember this very, very vividly. I was playing golf with my brother, and we were playing with a guy named Sam Saunders. And Sam just recently retired, but we were playing with him, and he was giving us a little kind of lessons as we were going. And he was telling my brother, hey, on this chip shot, I want you to put more of your weight forward. And my brother's like, okay. So he's like, no, put more of your weight forward. And like, just imagine that in a short game lesson where you're like, hey, I want you to be 60-40 on your front foot or 70-30. Well, if you have sensor right there, okay, that's 70 right there. So I want you to feel that. That is 70% of the weight on your front foot. Okay, it might be exactly what you thought it was. It might be nowhere near that. But again, throughout your swing, if you can say, okay, here's the information, here's what you're doing, somebody can look at that and say, hey, Tony, here are 3 drills that you can do to address this issue. And that can happen in 30 minutes.
Well, the thing too is, you've got this again, kind of color display, app driven, giving you real time feedback. And so if it's like, hey, you're hanging back on your right foot, to be able to kind of see that shift in real time and understand, like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like when I'm where I need to be, and to kind of associate that feel with a graphic or visual representation, whatever you want to call it, and go, oh yeah, this is okay.
That stuff. Right? We hear this stuff all the time. Like, again, instructors know things that are important. Like you said, weight shifter. We talk about hanging back. I mean, you're not getting that weight from your, where it was on the backswing to where it needs to be and when it needs to be there, and it's like, okay, you see all these guys that, again, swing it fast and how they're able to create kind of this vertical thrust. That's great. I know I should do more of it, but I
think I'm doing it.
Right. But what if it's that feel isn't real thing? What if I feel like I'm not on my back foot, but I am? And now it's like, okay, no, that's what it feels like. This is where you should actually be at impact. And I get, if you work with a high level coach and you're willing to pay X amount, you're willing to pay $200, $300, $400 a lesson and do that, that is awesome. And if you have somebody who is that knowledgeable and can put you in those positions and do that and diagnose it quickly and get you the right drills, and there are a lot of great coaches out there that can do that. That's awesome. That's wonderful. But this can help do that, I mean, $600 again. I get a clock. That's 2 lessons.
I'm laughing though
Maybe 3.
because I'm reading through the FAQs and like, how do I choose the right size? Right. So these are the sizes: small,
Okay.
4 to 6;
Okay.
medium, 6.5 to 8;
Okay.
large, 10 to 12;
Okay.
and extra large, 11 to 12.5. So I'm sitting here with my size 9 foot and going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I'm not in any of those ranges, so hopefully that's just an FAQ error. But
yeah. And there may be a try. Hey, if you ordered the large and didn't fit your shoe, and you got it.
It says buy the smaller one, so we'll see.
Ways
Also
to-
found it interesting. This one kind of fascinating me as I'm going through the website. I'm like, Continental. This is a Continental.
Yeah, so that, I guess that's the
Yeah.
parent company's
Yeah,
Continental.
the
You're
same
thinking
guys that make the tires.
out of Germany. So
Yeah.
you're thinking a German, tire rubber company. Yeah, we think of like Sumitomo, right, which is parent company like Strixon. That's where the SRI comes from, right? A lot
Yeah.
of those companies end up getting into golf balls because it makes sense. These guys didn't get into golf balls; they got into
Digital insoles. Why not?
But when you read the story about why, it makes.
I did not read that story. Why?
Well,
Give me the abbreviated version.
here's the abbreviated version. Basically, as they were kind of revamping, reorganizing, they put together a task force, maybe 100 employees, broke them into different groups, and said, "Hey, we need to think outside our core business. We need to, if we're going to grow, expand, what else can we do? What knowledge, information do we have that are differentiating key factors that things that we can do that other people can't?" Came back with tons of ideas.
As a large tire manufacturer, we are well versed in weight transfer in the golf swing, so we should.
So one of these groups had like 3 golfers in the group.
Okay.
And they looked and figured, okay, that they had acquired, and I can't remember exactly all the details, but they had acquired some electronics stuff, and they were really working on internal components of vehicles. And as we know, vehicles are largely big computers now in so many ways. And the amount and type of information stuff that they had access to was very, very sophisticated, far beyond what you would need to do something like this. We're like, man, we can do 3D printed sensors. If we could do that, and God, if we can adjust pressure on a 4-wheel drive system or something, I bet we could measure a golfer's feet. And this, of all the ideas that came out of that, this was the only one that actually made it to market. So it was kind of the Shark Tank of
Continental's internal Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, Continental, like that's the tire company logo.
I know.
What is going on?
So I mean, again, there's going to be tons of tech products that are out there and as things come up. But of the however many, kind of seen this year, these two have me super intrigued. I think they're both, for different reasons, going to change portions of the industry. Maybe big, maybe small. I think the impact of the launch market obviously can be much, much more significant at this point.
$5,000 versus $6,000, right? It's accessibility is always a thing.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, everybody and their mom seems to be investing in, or at least inquiring about, at-home golf things or commercial spaces. If I'm a commercial operator and I'm looking to set up something or whatever, and I can say, hey, I can pay $15,000 for something or $5,000 for something. Why wouldn't I do 3 bays for what it would cost me to do one of? So I think this has potentially much larger ramifications for industry. I will be surprised if they don't sell an absolute metric shit ton of these.
I'm looking at the Bal.on, and I'm like looking at the metrics, transition timing. I would love to see what it has to say about mine.
You might break. It might just start smoking.
Like there was no transition not detected.
Yeah, we did not notice one. It was all downswing. There was no backswing.
All happens so fast it can't be measured. Oh God.
Exactly. So, Anywho, I'd love to hear from people. What are your thoughts on indoor golf? Is it real? Is it not? Am I off my rocker? Should somebody get paid for a hole in one? Are you good with people making a bunch of money but they don't ever have to putt? Like, is that an okay thing? Like, is that good? What else do you want from the tech world? There's going to be ideas, thoughts, all those kind of things. Let us know. It's the
Play the
holiday
pin seeker.
Check out the pin seeker. It's the holiday season. Maybe we'll have some more holiday stuff for you here in a week. But until then, we out. And watch out for falling ground.